I've got all these random thoughts in my head I need to get rid of today. Hi, I'm Ralph and welcome to Ageless Runner. I've had these random thoughts about run, walk, run in my head for a while. I thought I would take today. It's a beautiful morning. Thought I'd take this morning and share a few of those with you. Just give you some maybe suggestions or challenges, food for thought in you doing run, walk, run. So I've been doing run, walk, run for, I don't know, maybe 4 years or so, which kind of brings up my first random thought, is that the run, walk, run is just not for beginners. You can use it throughout your whole running life. If you are a beginner, it's great. And if you are a beginner, I'll put some links down below to help you get started, some more information on it. But you can do this for as long as you're running. In fact, I don't think I would be running if I wasn't doing run, walk, run. It helps protect my body, helps give me the energy and the effort I can put in to run some long distance like a half marathon or a marathon and things like that. So it's just not for beginners. Use it all the time. Use it throughout your whole running career. It's just wonderful. So let me give you a hypothetical, some food for thought. Is one of these two cycles better than the other? The first cycle would be run 60 seconds, walk 30 seconds. The second cycle is run 40 seconds and walk 20 seconds. So both those are 2-to-1 ratio, and with that, it means in an hour you would run a total of 40 minutes and walk a total of 20. That's just math. But is one better than the other? Well, I think there is no right answer. It depends. But I think another parameter to look at is the number of rest breaks you get, say, in an hour. So in my first example, run 60 seconds, walk 30, that's a 1.5 minute total cycle. So in an hour, a 60-minute hour, you would get 40 cycles, 40 walk breaks. The other cycle of run 40 and walk 20, that's a 1-minute cycle. So in an hour, you would get 60 rest breaks. So one has fewer rest breaks than the other. In fact, the other one's about 50% more, 40 versus 60. So would you prefer one of those over the other? And I think the answer depends on your objective. So the more walk breaks you have, I think is going to slow your pace. It's a little more inefficient. Every time you slow down and start up, you lose some efficiency. You don't quite have the rhythm if you were running longer times. So that may slow your pace down a little bit. So if you're interested, you're doing a race or a long run, you're trying to set a PR, you may opt to have fewer rest breaks. On the other hand, having that 40-20 would give you shorter run times. Having a shorter run time maybe means you won't tire quite as soon. Let me exaggerate. Let's say that 40-20 was minutes. Your cycle would be run 40 minutes and walk 20. At the end of that 40 minutes, you may start getting really tired. You may even risk an injury. So shortening your run times may be better for getting longer distances, minimizing injury and minimizing fatigue. So it's kind of a trade-off. As I said, it's kind of a food for thought. But you may also want to think about number of walk breaks you get per hour and how that might affect your objective. Now I tend to, in long runs, I do long runs, I tend to shorten my run time a little bit. So for today I'm doing a short run. I think my run time is about 1.5 minutes. But if I were going to do a long run, you know, something 8, 9, 10 miles, I would shorten that to maybe 70 seconds or somewhere around there and reduce the risk of injury or fatigue coming on too strong. So if you care about pace, you may want fewer breaks. If you care about getting the longest distance, you may want more walking breaks. Food for thought. I once had a subscriber ask me, I think he or she was a fairly new runner, if it was okay to do run, walk, run during a race. They didn't want to feel out of place, you know, feel like the odd person out. And of course, if you've already done races, you know lots of people do run, walk, run during a race. It's more than acceptable. I've been in some races where there's a group of runners and there'll be a lead runner. When it's walk time, he holds up his hand and they all stop and they walk, and then he'll hold up a hand again, they'll start running. So groups of people, many people do run, walk, run during a race. As I said in the beginning, use run, walk, run throughout your running life. Of course, the most common way for setting up run and walk intervals is time, and everybody does time. You can also do distance for setting your interval. In fact, my Garmin Forerunner 245 actually has a feature I think other Garmin watches do. You can set up intervals based on distance. If you want to run a certain distance, walk a certain distance, you can do that. Now, a very novel concept, kind of got this idea from one of my subscribers, and that's using heart rate. If you track your heart rate, for example, once you get up into zone 4, which is 80% of your max heart rate, that may be the cue for you to start walking, because you maybe don't want to spend a lot of time in zone 4. So start walking when you get up to 80% of your max heart rate. Keep walking until your heart rate comes down, maybe somewhere around 70% of your max heart rate. When you get to that point, start running again, and that could be your interval. That's a great way to control your heart rate. Make sure you spend more time in the aerobic zone, less time in the anaerobic zone, unless you want to be in the anaerobic zone. That's a different story. But you could use heart rate to set your run-walk intervals. So I kind of do that sometimes. I'll look at my watch, look at my heart rate. If it's too high, I'll start walking. Regardless of what my time interval says, I'll start walking. And then when it comes down, I'll start running again. So his heart rate doesn't have to be zone 4. You could use any heart rate trigger that works best for you. For example, you might say, when I get to 75% of my max heart rate, which is still in zone 3, I'm going to start walking. And then once it calms down and the beats per minute get down to maybe 70% or upper 60% of my max heart rate, then I'll start running again. So you can use any kind of heart rate triggers that works best for you. It's something to try. If you do try it, let me know how your experience is with that. So sticking with races, before you get into a race, you should already have an idea what your optimum ratio or run walk times are. The race is not a timed experiment. If you're doing a marathon, that may be one set. 10K or a full marathon may be different. Have an idea of what you want to do going into the race. Doesn't mean you can't change it. Often when I get into a long run, late in the run, I'll change my ratio, my times. I'll kind of decrease my run time because I'm starting to get tired. But find your optimum ratio and run walk times for that race and start with it and stick with it. As I kind of alluded in that last one, you don't need to stick with the same ratio or run walk times through your whole run. You know, especially as you get tired. As I said, when I get into a long run, I have this little 15 second timer on my interval timer, and I'll start running that. Doesn't mean I'll do 15-15. I may do 30-15 or 45-15, but it allows me to adjust my times to get shorter run times as I get more tired late into a run. So feel free to flex that anytime during a run, anytime during a race. It's not set in stone. Listen to your body, listen to your energy level, and make adjustments accordingly. So I think I've emptied my head of some of these random thoughts for today. Who knows, sometime in the future I may have some more random thoughts, but I hope you found something interesting, hope you found something useful or maybe thought-provoking. If you feel free to leave comments, if you want to comment on anything or offer any suggestions, I really appreciate those comments. And if you like this video, please scroll down, hit that like icon. And if you're new here, welcome, and I'd love to have you stick around. Please hit that subscribe icon also. Thanks again for watching, and happy running.